The Ardent slipped beneath the sundown chop with the stealth of a grey gull folding its wings. Inside the steel belly, lights dimmed to red and gauges whispered in phosphorescent green. Commander Isla Peregrine watched the depth gauge tick past 50 meters, then 100, as the surface chatter of the ocean was replaced by a hush thick enough to press against the eardrums. Their charted course was simple: glide southwest across the Anvil Trench, locate research beacon Echo 9, a drone gone silent during a geological survey, and tow it home. Yet every sailor aboard sensed the true mission was stranger. Satellite maps showed a region of spiking magnetism, a patch of sea where compasses spun in drunken circles, and sonar returned rhythmic echoes that resembled no creature, no rock face, no current. Official briefs called them anomalies. Old dockside scuttlebutt called them songs. Chief Sonar Officer Vin Tran leaned toward his console, brow furrowing as though trying to smell a faint odor through thick glass. "Picking up the hymn already, Commander," he said over the intercom. "Range indeterminate, same frequency clusters as the preliminary readings." Isla clasped the handrail that circled the bridge. "Patch it to main. Low volume." The bridge speakers crackled, then released a sound like cathedral bells forged from water and rust. Notes chimed in minor intervals, wavered, reformed into shimmering chords and faded. No pattern a human composer would claim, yet hardly random either. More a language spoken by tides. A murmur passed through the crew. Even hardened salt, Vin ran a thumb across a lucky jade tiger at his wrist. Lieutenant Varga, navigation, cleared her throat. "Commander, if magnetics stay this erratic, inertial alone won't keep us on grid for long. We'll be blind in under an hour." Isla considered the symphony drifting through the hull. Blind, perhaps, but not deaf. "Then we listen," she said, "and the music will chart us." No one argued. You did not climb into a pressure hull and descend past the sunlit world unless you were ready to converse with impossibilities. The ocean turned black as ink. Bioluminescent specks winked by like city lights in fog, fading when the Ardent's lamps swept them. At 600 meters, the anomalous magnetic turbulence intensified. Needles jittered and even digital gyros glitched, as though a child kept flipping polarity off and on. Isla ordered half speed. They floated as much as traveled, guided by the current, ears tuned to the ringing. That was when the forest appeared. First, they saw only shapes. Pillars rising from sediment, flexible, yet metallic, swaying though no current touched them. Floodlights revealed ribbons as thin as eelgrass but wrought of iron, each frond glinting pewter where rust had not etched it blood red. Some stalks climbed 30 meters, others barely breached the sand, but all bent in choreographed concert, blades clinking against one another. The noise, oh, the noise, cascaded in harmonics, a vast wind chime kingdom hidden beneath leagues of seawater. "The iron kelp," Vin whispered, invoking the phrase whispered on wharves around half of Earth's oceans. "Didn't think it real." Isla felt the command deck tilt under the weight of legend. Mariner spoke of a grove that grew from meteorite shards cooled at creation's dawn, whose leaves never corroded away completely, because the ocean loved their music and would not let them die. Sailors lost in storms claimed the Kelp called them home. Others said its song lured vessels to doom. Myths contradicted, as myths always do. Yet every tale agreed on one thing: the Kelp sang. "All ahead slow," Isla ordered. "Thread us through." The Ardent eased into the labyrinth. Iron fronds tapped against the hull, sending clear bell tones into every cabin. Some notes were so low the metal deck seemed to breathe. Others so high the crew felt them only in tooth and bone. Lights revealed more wonders. Nodules like seed pods glowed with galvanic current. Barnacles of bright copper-encrusted stalks like jewelry. Fish with scales of living chrome flickered between leaves, changing pitch as their tails brushed hollow stems. Each contact added fresh syllables to the forest's language. Lieutenant Varga spoke softly, as if in pews. "Commander, look." Her nav screen, though disconnected from external reference, now displayed an overlay of pulsing lines mapping the kelp around them. Every time the sonar pinged, the forest's reply etched another contour. There, an arrow-shaped void to port. There, a spiral corridor dead ahead. The song was drawing a chart of itself, gifting the submarine with topography, perhaps even direction. "Run an algorithm," Isla said. "Translate amplitude to vector." It took Varga 30 seconds. When she looked up, her eyes shone like someone who'd seen a ghost and been handed its autograph. "Mum, the strongest resonance indicates a path ascending, northeast, gentle slope. It matches the heading toward beacon Echo 9's last ping." Vin raised eyebrows. "Iron kelp as lighthouse." "Or siren," Isla reminded, but her pulse skipped in hope. "Set course along the resonance." "Maintain 5 meters clearance." For 30 minutes they drifted on the melodic current, and then the path widened into a clearing. The forest ring embraced a small canyon littered with debris, bronze gears, ceramic tiles, shattered viewing domes, remnants of machines older than any living memory. At the center lay the ruin of a submersible, hull crumpled like foil, nameplate half-eaten by corrosion. Yet through crushed metal slits glimmered operational lights. "Getting a transponder," Vin announced. "Serial matches Echo 9's chassis, but there's energy beyond its capacity, a bigger power source." They edged closer. Floodlights painted the wreck's innards, and the crew gasped. The skeleton was not a submarine at all, but a segment of undersea station built in a style obsolete by a century. Turrets and frame beams bore stampings from the long-dismantled Pan-Pacific Wayfinder project, an initiative rumored to have sought perpetual navigation using geomagnetic crystals. Records claimed the project failed and scuttled its labs. Apparently, some portion had sunk farther than planned. As the Ardent halted, the music changed. No longer random harmonies, now a motif repeated. 4 rising tones, pause, 3 descending, pause, then the pattern again, insistent as Morse. "Message," Ilo said. "Varga, see if it maps to alphanumeric using acoustic code." Varga typed, squinted. "It's simple if you overlay 60 Hz carrier, look there." Letters ticked onto a secondary screen. "Open the way." Isla's mouth dried. She toggled engines to full stop. The crew's silence felt like prayer. Something beneath them, forged of iron leaves and forgotten engineering, was speaking deliberately. A hiss of hydraulics interrupted the hush. Outside, a hatch on the wreck rotated spitefully, expelling a gush of silt that curled upward like smoke. Beyond the hatch, a tunnel lit by faint cobalt lamps yawned. The kelp rang louder, as though celebrating an invitation extended and accepted. "Commander," Vin said, "if we dock nose to there, we can extend the umbilical." "Risks?" Isla asked. "Unknown," he admitted. But Echo 9's last data packet flagged discovery of a stable fission cell. That power could run our life support for months. Isla nodded. Curiosity outpacing fear was the first requirement of any submariner. "FTO suit up, we investigate." 5 minutes later, Isla led 3 divers through the airlock. The temperature dropped 20 degrees as soon as they entered the ruined station. Yet systems thrummed alive. Emergency gels coated walls in iridescent varnish, sealing cracks. In their helmet comms, the Kelt's music softened, becoming more articulate, each frond now seemingly a reed of an organ synced to their heartbeats. Text flickered on concave screens, still functional after decades in brine. It scrolled in antique fonts. "Wayfinder protocol active. For each who comes lost, one song shall guide." They passed chambers stuffed with crystalline lattices, coils, and sensores built to taste magnet lines the way tongues taste salt. On benches lay notebooks sealed in transparent resin sleeves. Isla wiped algae off one with a gauntlet and read, scrawled ink, "The forest learns your longing." Vin murmured, "The kelp isn't just metal, it's instrument and antenna." Ahead, in a spherical room, floated the beacon Echo 9, clasped in a gimbal cradle. Beside it hovered a pod shaped like a tuning fork. Within that pod glowed a lattice of spinning ferrocrystals. Instruments indicated gamma radiation, so mild it might warm a cup of tea. Stable indeed. More text flared across surrounding screens, yet this time it was not automatically generated. Letters formed in real time, as if typed by unseen hands. "Where are you from?" Isla surprised herself by answering aloud. "Surface Pacific Fleet Explorer Corps." The screens replied, "What do you seek?" She hesitated. The Navy would say retrieve lost drone, gather intel, secure technology. Her heart said something else, something older, a way to never be lost. Finally she breathed, "Safe passage." "Acknowledged," wrote the station. "Take the light. Leave your song." Panels slid open, revealing a hatch inside which sat a golden sphere small enough to cradle in two arms. Instruments labelled it a choral memory core. Islam recognized a swap gift for gift. She toggled to Ardent's bridge. "Prepare to receive new module. Data volume large, architecture unknown." Consent obtained, she lifted the sphere. It thrummed like a beehive, resonant with microgongs. The kelp outside echoed, shifting to a joyous key. On the return trek, Chief Engineer Amani's voice cut in. "Commander, we've got hull telemetry. The kelp is rearranging around us, almost funneling currents to our bow, drag-dropping, like it's laying breadcrumbs." Back aboard, they secured both the ferrocrystal power cell and coral sphere. The moment the sphere interfaced with ship's mainframe, icon arrays blossomed, waveforms, star charts, current models, all annotated in tonal script. A single menu offered Navigate. Isla authorized. The bridge darkened. Speakers released a chorus. Not chaotic ringing, but deliberate polyphony, as if 100 choristers each held one sustained note that together became language. The system projected a holomap of ocean trenches, ridges, gyres, and magnetic veins. A glowing path wound through them like thread through cloth, terminating at their fleet base over 2,000 miles east. Another path branched toward rescue stations, supply depots, even surface ports unknown to modern registries, ghost harbors lost to time. "It's a cartographic opera," Varga said, voice trembling. "Not coordinates, music. Every interval corresponds to bearing and rate. Change the key, you follow a new route." Isla understood now. Early explorers lacked precise timekeeping. They navigated by dead reckoning and stars. But below water, without sky, they needed something else song. The iron kelp, shaped by engineers and the sea itself, became a living record. Lost sailors who reached it could encode their homeward route in melody, deposit it among the leaves, and in return, learn previous travelers' songs. A symbiotic chart room. But why abandon the project? Rahmani wondered. Isla scanned lab notes, streaming from the sphere. They didn't abandon, they transcended. She gestured at lines dated 84 years prior. "We commune now, with tides unmeasured. No landfall required. We are the forest's cantors." Some researchers had chosen to remain, become custodians, perhaps no longer wholly flesh. Their voices persisted in iron and current. Suddenly alarms chirped. A sonar contact approached, fast, multi-vector, too agile for any man-made hull. The Kelp's pitch altered, mild to stern. Visual feed showed a swarm of torpedo-shaped drones, barnacled with copper, propelled by magnetic induction. Symbols scrolled across Ardent's screens, glyphs recognizable from the station, but shaded crimson. "Defensive guard," Ven translated. "We took something they need protected." Isla thought of the golden sphere. The bargain. Take the light, leave your song. The moment they had received, they must reciprocate. She opened broadcast on all acoustic channels, selected the captain's mic, and, remembering childhood choir, began to hum. A simple pentatonic scale in the key the Celt first used. 4 up, 3 down. Crewmen stared, then joined. Varga's alto slid beneath Isla's soprano. Vin's baritone grounded them. The hum vibrated hull plates, travelled into water as low thunder. Immediately the drones halted. The Kelp chimed in resonance, adding harmonic overtones. Through mixed frequencies, spheres inside Ardent input the live melody, transcribed it, and appended metadata. Vessel ID, crew roster, mission logs, supply rations, medical records. Everything a rescuer would require. The forest was archiving their story. When the song finished, the drones retreated. Kelp stalks parted like theatre curtains, exposing a corridor of open water lit by planktonic glow. A final chord reverberated. Permission granted. "Plot egress," Isla ordered. They followed the melodic corridor. Instruments showed favourable currents stitched precisely along their heading, like moving sidewalks. Magnetic interference no longer scrambled their gear, instead it nudged them into compliance, correcting drifts. Days passed in dreamlike ease. Whenever confusion struck, they listened, hummed back, and the forest's distant overture responded with subtle corrections. During off-watch, crew explored the choral sphere's archives, hearing songs recorded centuries earlier, Polynesian chants that traced volcanic island chains, Norse drones that hugged Arctic shelf edges, even futuristic atonal runs mapping vents leagues deep. Each was a living memory of souls once lost, now immortal as navigation. Isla found herself at Mess 1 quiet night with Vin, mugs of synthetic cocoa floating beside them in zero-G micro thrusters. "Will we publish this?" Vin asked. "That's for command to decide," Isla answered, knowing secrecy protocols clamoured. But she also knew the forest would not stay secret. Melodies travel faster than classified memos, carried by gulls that land on sailors' shoulders in rowdy bars. She smiled. Regardless, any mariner who hears the hymn will follow it. If they arrive worthy, the Kelp will guide them too. "Worthy how?" he pressed. "By wanting a way home more than they want to possess the road," she said. "Simple as surrender, hard as faith." Weeks later, dawn painted the South China Sea roseate when the Ardent surfaced outside Port Songline Base, exactly atop the chorally defined coordinate. Deck crew had barely clipped moorings when tropical songbirds lit on antennas, chirping an uncanny motif Isla recognized from the Kelp. Even air seemed to carry its seed. After debrief, high brass argued about weaponizing ferrocrystals or patenting cartographic voices, yet attempts to replicate the choral sphere failed. Duplicates sang but did not guide. Engineers concluded missing variables. Organic evolution, time, perhaps even longing, all impossible to mass produce. Consequently, official files categorized the Iron Kelp Forest as Strategic Asset SG-13, location redacted, but sailors talk. From Diego Garcia to Vladivostok, tales resurfaced in bunks and bars, of metal seaweed whose bells could write any compass, of songs that revealed safe harbours to those adrift. Isla was promoted, paraded, offered desk duties. She declined and took command of a smaller scout sub, the Lark, crewed by volunteers who had shared the forest's hush. Their charter: roam contested seas, seek wrecks, escort survivors. Each mission began the same. They powered up the choral sphere, allowed it to sample crew voices, and waited for the responding melody, a map unique to the souls aboard. Sometimes it led them along merciless ridges where storms pulverized ships. They would surface, pluck frantic sailors from rafts, and whisper, "Follow the notes." Sometimes it guided them to sunken relics whose data cores still yearned to speak. Each time they left behind new verses, ensuring the forest's library grew. Years passed until one winter's patrol found them bobbing above a silent void where charts predicted volcanoes. Sonar returned only that familiar quartet of rising tones. By then, Isla's hair silvered at the temples, but her voice remained sure. She looked to her crew, who nodded. Engines cut, ballast released, and the Lark descended, not lost, not afraid, just ready. Lights pierced the gloom to reveal the kelp once more, swaying like an audience awaiting overture. Blades rang softly. Corridors opened. Screens aboard scrolled a message she had read before, yet now understood with finality. Open the way. Isla answered. We've come home, and began to sing. The song swelled, joined by her crew, by distant voices woven into iron leaves, by memories of every sailor who had ever traded fear for melody. In that vast cathedral of mineral and water, rhythms converged until boundaries dissolved. Submarine hull, human heart, rusted frond, crystalline core, all pulsed one cadence. Somewhere in the dark, perhaps on shorelines half a planet away, night fishermen glanced up. Sure, they heard faint bells in the wind, guiding them toward dawn. The iron kelp forest kept singing, archive ever deeper, mapping not just oceans, but the longing that drives wanderers across them, promising, should you lose the path, we will lend you ours, and in return, your journey will live forever in the music of the sea.